Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Boxing Authorities. Joining me at the desk, as always, Luther Dupree Jr., Smoking Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. Thank you for joining us. Well, before we started as soon as we got in the studio today, first thing we find out is the Wilder-Fury fight is in some potential danger due to a COVID outbreak in the Fury camp. And Luther here, I think he's got some different opinions on it, but we don't know what's going on. We're just going to act as if it's still going to happen on July 24th, a couple weeks, and we'll keep you updated. So keep your eyes open on that one. Hopefully everything goes through because this is a very anticipated fight, and I know we're looking forward to it as well. So, sure. But we're going to talk about the undercard, which is a very good undercard. Look, how many fights we've all seen, especially on pay-per-view, that the preliminary fights aren't that great. And you just keep looking at your watch and say, man, let's get going to the main event. And then the athletes, the celebrities, they show up maybe the second to last fight, right? This one is a very good card, so I give the promotional company a lot of credit for coming up with this great card. So let's start off with somebody who Luther has always liked, but he's been honest about him lately, but that's Efe Agbe, who is a Nigerian Olympian. He's 15-0, 12 knockouts. He's number 8 in the WBC against Frank Sanchez from Cuba, who's 18-0, 13 KOs, and he's number 11 in the WBC. That's a big-time fight, I think.
I think that might be the second best fight on the card. I mean, really, because Efe, a lot of power. You know, he's kind of stiff. He just rocks guys. When he hit this guy and broke his hip, his leg, everything else. I mean, he's powerful, not very fast. You know, some guys you talk about seconds, how many punches they can get off. You're not talking seconds with this guy, but he brings it. You know, it's not real fast, but it's real hard. You know, the one and only is his nickname. Very, very strong fighter. Kind of stiff in there a little bit, but he's definitely powerful. Frank Sanchez, a guy he's fighting Cuban style. You know, we don't really know how old some of these guys that come from Cuba but solid guy, 18-0, 13 knockouts. Yeah. So I don't look for this fight to go the distance. Look for some haymakers, but he set up this right. Can't leave your face wide open. Like, that's a good way to get put to sleep and get your back broke, spinal, all of that. Look at that shot. Man, that's just
He's
powerful.
Lucky he didn't catch him clean on the chin because it would have twisted his head off.
Exactly. So that was definitely a powerful fighter. I like him. The one and only.
You always have.
You know, I think he's good. He switched trainers late, about 2 fights ago. I didn't like that late switch, but he's powerful. He has potential. We'll see where it goes, but I think that'll be a powerful fight.
Has the new trainer improved him at all?
I don't think so, not yet. Sometimes when you switch to a new trainer, it might take a fight or two, and he was kind of raw to begin with. So, you know, solid fighter. I still have him in the top 10 of heavyweights, but I would take him possibly maybe a late round stoppage over Frank Sanchez. He just has too much size, too much power for Frank.
Mr. Frazier, your thoughts on it?
Hey, thanks, Claudio. You know, first of all, just to go back to your opening statement about this highly anticipated fight that we may or may not see in July with Fury and Wilder. It reminds me of 1974, a high anticipated fight, biggest money fight at that time between Muhammad Ali and heavyweight champion George Foreman. And George Foreman got a cut in training camp, and they had to postpone that fight. Even though James Brown didn't leave. The party continued, but they had to postpone it. And don't forget, another highly anticipated fight, long as we see it, it's great. Another highly anticipated fight was Evander Holyfield. Mike Tyson won, and Mike Tyson went to jail. Right. And so we never really got to see that fight. But hey, the Nigerian Nightmare, I've been high on him for a long time. He got some Olympic experience. You know, I like that.
Oh, for sure.
But hey, these fighters from Cuba can fight.
Right.
You know, if you're a fighter and you grew up in Cuba, you can fight. I don't like the matchup because they're two up-and-coming fighters. So I give the matchmaker credit for the entire card. There's no stumble bums on here. But if I was managing either one of these guys, I wouldn't put them in with one another right now.
You know, the one thing that we've talked about numerous times in this show is if somebody has a loss, it's not the end of the world. So if one of these guys, you know, the ramifications of some of these bouts, there's a lot on the line. But if one of them loses, they're still young enough to still rebound. if they
I
get
don't
into
know
the
about
ring right away.
Sanchez.
Well, nobody knows how old he is, but he's still only 18 fights.
We don't know. We only 18 fights. A young record. We don't know how old he really is. But listen, I disagree with you, Smoking Jim. I like to see these young guys get it on early. You know, I would like to see a Devin Haney and a Teofimo Lopez get it on in their 20s because they can fight 3 and 4 times. They're only in their 20s.
And you're not a manager, so
Listen,
would you like
listen. I like to see these young guys getting it on, Smoker Jim. I don't care what you say. Let these guys get in it. They're boxers. They're paid to fight. I don't want to see them keep fighting journeymen and get 30-0, and then they fight some real competition. And we found out they're really not that good. They may really think they're that good, but until you challenge yourself, you don't know. I love the matchup.
How did that work out for Bobby Chaz and some of them guys that were coming along in that era and was just beating each other up on ESPN? You know what I mean? A loss matters in today's fight world, in my opinion.
More than ever.
You,
and is
you
that,
really
is that
get
a good,
devalued.
More than ever, it matters. But I don't think it should. A loss is just a loss.
My take on that. Chris Arreola was climbing the ladder pretty quick. Good record. And then what happened? Klitschko, I believe, just got him pretty bad. But the Wilder. But the thing about Arreola that I liked and respected was what? He kept fighting. He didn't just disappear. A lot of those number one contenders, I forgot the guy's name. His nickname was the Black Panther. He fought Klitschko years ago. I remember I was in Florida when I was watching that fight. He had a great record. All of a sudden, he gets pummeled by Klitschko, disappeared. A lot of those guys do that.
That heavyweight era was a lot of those guys needed to disappear. That was one of the worst heavyweight eras.
But if you're a serious fighter like Arreola, Andy Ruiz could have disappeared. He said no.
You said Arreola? You're talking about a club fighter that would have just been a sparring partner in the 70s.
Yes.
So, he should have.
But he kept coming back.
He was just looking for a payday. He never was going to be any good.
Hey, but he's in there. He had a good fight with Andy Ruiz.
Not long ago. Doing what he's like the modern day Porter, just in there getting beat.
He's fighting. I just want to see him out there. He's not in there being a punching bag.
If one of these guys loses, I still think he's going to have to kind of climb up the ladder again. That's my point. And I don't think they're done.
But see, in the heavyweight division, the ladder's not that steep.
That's
you get one loss, you can jump back in there.
It's not
that deep. How many great fighters
That's
are in
almost as good as
heavyweight?
Pocket
It's not
Watcher.
really deep
That's
right
almost
now.
good as last week's Pocket Watcher. I like this.
That's
Steep
Jim's
ladder.
name.
I like
Pocket
that.
Watcher
I like
Jim.
that. Now, the next bout that's very interesting, too, is Jared, the real big baby, Anderson, who's 9-0, 9 KOs, against Vladimir Turchkin, who's 22-0 with 1 draw and 12 KOs. I think the records are a little bit misleading. Well, at least Vladimir's record is a little bit misleading. But what do you think about Jared Big Baby Anderson? Real Big Baby.
Well, you know what? I mean, I think by next fight he'll be called the real Big Baby. I mean, I get tired of this kid. Listen, they've been babying this guy. They've been bringing him along. They've been babying. Listen, there's no doubt about it that he got a lot of talent. You know what I mean? But I don't think that he's going to be the meal ticket that everybody is riding his coattail for. He's stepping up in competition right now. But, the people like him. He got a fan base. He's a young kid. But,
Immediately stopped.
Yeah, listen, somebody already got your nickname and you just turned pro. Either find another nickname.
Hey, listen, if you grow up with that nickname, why do you need to change it? He grew up as being Big Baby.
No.
What are you talking about?
No, he grew
his
up
grandmama
as
gave him that name,
as a DF student. Do you want to get
his grandma gave him that name.
Listen, somebody already had it.
All right. That's all right, Joe.
Who I liked, who I did like.
Look at him. He hit this guy with 9 different shots and ain't put him down yet.
Referee had to save him.
Yeah.
Listen,
fatigue and the referee saved him.
All right, stop the hating, Jim. Jared Big Baby Anderson, I think he's the next American heavyweight champion. He has that type of potential.
Mark the tape.
Mark the tape. He will get a belt, guaranteed. He was in sparring sessions, giving it to Tyson Fury. That's the word that was coming out.
Tyson Fury, does he?
No, he was. Wow. Fury even said that. His dad came out and said, wow, he was really, taking to my son, getting him ready for the fight. Power in both hands. He has solid size. I like his style, good personality. Why are you hating on another American heavyweight, Jim? That's your stick now? Any American heavyweight, you get on him. He's solid, undefeated, all knockouts. I like him. He has potential.
Now, the thing about Tereshkin is he has not fought since 2019, where real Big Baby fought in July.
Right.
So, the record might be maybe a little misleading for him, as I said. I'm expecting real Big Baby to walk right through him. But it is, I guess, a guy who's experienced.
Exactly.
And let's see if he touches him on the chin, what Anderson can do, because that's the big test.
They're moving him at the right speed.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Every fight he's getting better competition.
Yeah.
And he'll be ready. He's sparring with F.A., he's Jabba, he's sparring with Tyson Fury. I think he has a big chance to really do something special. The next heavyweight champion.
Any footage of some of that sparring sessions?
Most of those, back in the day, they didn't let these sparring sessions get out. You would hardly ever see it. Yeah. Now, somebody gets rocked, it goes out.
Yeah.
Nothing's a secret anymore.
When
that started?
When Mike Tyson got hit by, who was it, Dokes?
Oh.
In the Buster Douglas, before the Buster Douglas fight.
Okay.
They made a big deal about that. And Buster would have beat him no matter what anybody.
Here we go. Don't start. It was a motivated Buster.
That's all right. We're going to get to him.
I wish we would have saw more of a motivated Buster Douglas.
Me too. But the next fight is a return bout, which I'm really excited about. And I was shocked at the first fight. And that's Adam Babyface Kalanaki, who at the time was 20-0 against Robert the Nordic Nightmare Helenius, who was 29-3 at the time with 19 KOs. This was pretty much going to be, I don't want to say a walk in the park, but it was just a nice opponent for Kalanaki to raise in the rankings. Yeah. And Kalanaki is one of those guys. He's a very exciting fighter. We mentioned Chris Arreola. They had a rock'em sock'em robot
most
fight.
Punches ever for heavyweights.
They just went in there. As soon as the bell rang, they just start throwing punches. But the problem with Kalanaki is the only way to miss him when you're boxing him is to try to miss him, because he is so square. He's just easy to hit. It's almost like
no D. He doesn't
care.
Yeah.
And he can take a good punch, and he can give a pretty good punch, and he's exciting to watch. I don't think his style is meant for a long career, that's for sure. But what are your thoughts about this matchup and about Kalanaki himself?
Well, the way he gets hit, he won't be babyface for long.
Right.
But hey, I think this is most exciting fight on the card.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
Two guys. It's a rematch. Both of them really need this win very, very badly, and I think that Kalanaki will step up.
Kind of okay.
I definitely think he'll step up. It was a shock. Like you said, he thought he was going to knock this guy out. Wasn't really paying attention to his D. But Babyface got to get more defensive responsible. Look at that. Just leaving his – you can't take punches.
Let me ask you a
that
question.
heavyweight.
Okay, both of you said – and I think Kalanaki's going to win as well. But what is he going to do different this fight to win this fight? I mean, that's his style. Like we said that about Wilder, he's going to revert to Wilder. What's Kalanaki going to do?
Guys can change their style. Some guys, if they're committed, can change their style. Again, when he get knocked down, he didn't have a guard up at all. Put a guard up. You have to play.
It was a quick 8 count too, boy.
You have to have some kind of defense. You know what I mean? I think he was shocked with the power that Helenius had. He only has 19 knockouts in 30 fights. But maybe, Kalanaki, that style, he's already a little punch drunk. I don't know. We have to see. Every fight he's been in has been a war. So, while he only has 20 victories, and 1 defeat, those are some tough victories. It's not like he's sparking everybody.
That's right.
He's getting hit himself, and he took a beating this fight. I think he'll be a little bit better the next time. He'll know what's coming at him, and I think it'll be action-packed, but Kalanaki will get him back.
How come no matter how much a guy trains, he can't really get in shape? How come, certain guys like Fury, Kalanaki, why is that?
Some of it is genetics.
Genetics.
Some of it's genetics, and some of those guys really aren't training all that well. So you gotta pick.
But one thing about Kalanaki is when he fought Arreola, when you get punched as many times as he did, you're going to lose some steam. But he didn't. He kept coming. So I think he's obviously in physical. He has good stamina.
Looks like one of the Three Stooges.
Which one? Yeah, Curly. But you know what?
Quit hating on the Babyface Smoking Jim. He had a bad outing, guys.
Got a good looking wife, though. Good looking wife.
Sometimes these guys lose a fight again. Nothing. 3 punches and not one of them touched part of his defense. All of them went straight to the head.
He just took it.
I'm like, you have your gloves up, but you're not blocking anything.
I think that's the only thing that they're gonna try to work on his defense a little bit. But do you think that it'll affect his offense?
I don't know. I think he can definitely perform better. I think
he can perform better than that. I mean,
that was Robert's, shining moment. He's a journeyman. Kalanaki, he'll be a lot better in this match. He'll have his defense, and I think he'll knock him out.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and before we go on break, a little to talk about our next segment, where we talk about the top 6 heavyweights in the world, and we're also going to talk about the July 23rd card. Legend of the Month. So we'll be right back. All right, guys. Now, something that's always fun to talk about is we'll kind of shrink it a little bit, the top 6 heavyweights in the world today. And I know we're going to have a little battle over that, but Jim, you know what? Let's start with Luther. We'll start with him. Okay. This way you can kind of counterpunch. Jim's a counterpuncher. Go ahead, Luther.
Right now, I think, I'm not going to give it any particular order. AJ, Anthony, Joshua, he has 3 or 4 belts.
We got to go in order now.
Listen.
You get on Jim with his 1A and 1B, so we got to go in order, which you'll learn about Jim's 1A and 1B.
All right. I'm going to put AJ number 1. He has the most belts right now. I'm going to put him number 1.
That surprised me.
But I think by the end of the year, it will change.
Jim's wearing on him.
It will change. But a guy, he had 20 knockouts in a row, power in both hands. I always question his chin. Andy Ruiz exposed it, but I still put him at the top. He has the most belts. I think this year he does unify with either Wilder or Fury. Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. So I have him at the top. Next, I have Wilder. I'm going to put Wilder in front of Fury.
Go ahead.
I think Wilder, biggest punch. I think he beats all these guys by the end of the year. If Fury ever decides to fight him, I don't know what's going on.
I'm glad Luther isn't on the NCAA committee for football, but go ahead.
But I have Wilder next, biggest puncher in heavyweight division, maybe in history. Great right hand. I'm going Wilder number 2. Fury, I have him number 3. Very 6'9", can move a lot for a big guy. Changed the style this last fight. I'm going to put him at number 3. Number 4, the boogeyman in the heavyweight division, Luis Ortiz. These guys will not fight him. The only one who stepped up to fight him is Deontay Wilder. Twice. Listen, Luis Ortiz, Cuban style, southpaw. He can beat anyone on this list given time. He had Wilder hurt. He was winning the second fight as well. They keep ducking. They keep talking about his age. But one thing they won't do is fight this guy. Yeah. Also, I have Andy Ruiz. He beat Joshua, made him quit, punished him, put him down 3 and 4 times, and made him quit in New York City. Beat him so bad he never wanted to fight in the States again. Listen, Andy Ruiz is that good. Great hands. Bob Arum gave up on him way too soon. I'm glad he signed with L. Heyman, changed his career, changed his life.
Yeah.
And also, I was going to put Dillian White here. I call him the Lycan. I don't think he's that good anymore, but he's still the number 1 WBC ranked heavyweight. We saw him get rocked and absolutely destroyed by Povetkin a couple fights ago. Came back, restored himself, redeemed himself for that. But I'm going to change it. I'm going to put F.A. Agbe number 6. I think
he is ranked 8. WBC
8.
Does have
I'm going to put him
All right.
above Dillian White right now and put him at number 6. I'd like to see him get more into the mix. He's stepping up with Frank Sanchez, and that should be a great fight. Those are my top 6. We can get into it a little more, but
all right. Smoking.
Well, my Russian Canadian ain't what it used to be, so I'll just spell the guy that I got at number 6. I'll go in descending order. ARSLANBEKMAKHMUDOV.
He's a hockey player.
Did you ever see him fight, Jim?
Yes,
He's a
I
hockey
love
player.
his right uppercut. And
gosh.
if you'll see him fight pretty soon. Knocks everybody out. I love him. He's in there at number 6. Number 5 is Deontay Wilder. He's not getting any younger. You know what I mean? His flaws have been exposed.
One fight, huh?
You know what I mean? Listen.
One fight.
This is a guy that had a great career. not in the Olympics, but a professional
You get a
career.
bronze medal?
Who
else in the heavyweight
that's
has that?
actually, that's real great for U.S. heavyweight.
He had just started fighting that year and ended up with a bronze medal. Instead of talking
Dwayne
down
Bobbitt's
about it,
cousin.
instead of talking down about it,
Who
you
handed
fight
it to
that
him?
year,
Dwayne
you go to
Bobbitt?
the Olympics and get a bronze medal?
All
Come
right.
on, Jim.
All right, here we go.
But you love the Olympics. Stop.
At number 4, I got to agree with Luther, who's agreeing with me that the Nigerian Nightmare is in there at number 4. I really liked him, always liked him. I don't like his opponent coming up. So, but number 3 is a guy that's one of the all-time great heavyweights, one of the toughest gypsies around, and they're all pretty tough. I know a lot of gypsies, and they're all tough. Tyson Fury in there at number 3. I party with the gypsy. But number 2, I think he can beat anybody in the world. Andy Ruiz. I like him. I like the way that when he got a little Vander Holyfield in him, because when he gets hit, he lets his hands go. He fights back. I really like that from the opponent. In number 1, not only is he one of the top 6 in the world today, he's one of the top 6 all time, is Anthony Cassius Clay Joshua, one of the greatest of all time.
Didn't we ban you from putting his name with
You had him
Cassius
number
Clay?
1 too.
But I didn't say he was Cassius Clay. Don't even put those two in the same sentence. Come on.
Well, you'll say it pretty soon.
I never saw all this
last
quit
year
in the
you
ring.
wasn't putting him number 1. And next year you'll be saying
Yes,
Cassius
Bell.
Clay.
Listen, if he comes through and he beats Wilder and Fury, yes,
you'll-
Well, I'm
then
going
we
to ask
can
you a
talk.
question.
You'll get a Polaroid with him soon.
If Fury beats Wilder, what are you going to say then?
Then Fury beat Wilder twice.
Are you gonna?
I'm not going to put him up there with Muhammad Ali like you guys are doing.
No, I'm not either.
I'll say
for today's era.
For today's era, he's up there, and then we'll see what happens when he fights AJ. But again, he keeps having excuses. 1 minute the contracts expire. The
Excuses.
next minute
Wilder's got all
something
the
else.
excuses.
Listen,
He's ripping on the
can't
ref,
you
ripping on
understand?
Breland.
The contract
He does
did
not want to
expire.
fight Wilder. Every excuse. My lawyers are handling it. I'm moving on. I'm fighting AJ. I have COVID. Come
Which
on,
excuses
Fury.
were worse,
Just
Fury's or
go
Wilder's?
ahead and fight the man.
Which excuses were worse?
Wilder wants to fight.
After the fight,
Only
he
one I've
blamed everybody
seen
but
not wanting to
himself.
fight is Fury. So whatever.
Nobody
Claudia,
got
we'll
better
see.
excuses than
We'll
Wilder.
see.
I'm telling
We'll
you, he's
see.
the king of excuses.
But the contract did expire, Lou.
It did not expire. That's why they were scheduled to fight again. You're
it-
not talking. Talk
it
facts.
expired at
Don't
the end
talk
of
opinions to me.
2020.
Talk
It expired at
facts.
the end of
Well, why are they
2020?
scheduled to fight
I
again?
don't, you tell me.
Why did he win
You tell me.
arbitration?
You-
Because
what does
we're
Jeff
not talking.
Magazine
We're
say?
talking facts. We're not talking Smokepedia. Take that somewhere else. These are the facts,
I
and
read
that's
the-
why they were
I
scheduled
read
to fight
the
again.
contract.
He read the contract.
Yeah, just like you wrote on that little piece of paper. A or B. Get out of here, Jim.
I don't think there is
Some
such a guy, is
guy,
there?
some guy you made up.
He's a hockey player. He
You
plays
made,
for Tampa
you
Bay.
made him up on fight night on, come on, a video game. Get out of here, Jim. You can't put him on your top 10 list if you can't say his name. That's the new rule of the boxing authorities, Jim.
Anyway, for 6, I've been going back and forth with this. Luther just convinced me. I'm going to go with Dillian White, number 6. And I took Usyk out because Usyk's past 2 heavyweight performances were sluggish. 5, I'm going to go with Ortiz, Luis Ortiz. I mean, he's a banger. Nobody wants to fight him. I get it. But I think he could. I think the upper level guys like a Joshua, I think Fury, and Wilder, of course, knocked him out. I think those 3 guys would definitely beat him. Then I'm going to go with Andy Ruiz. I give him credit. And like Jim said, when you hit him, he comes back with more punches. And I love that about Evander Holyfield. You hit him once, and he came back and hit you 3 times. And Ruiz seems like he's more dedicated to boxing. He's not going to come in out of shape. He seems like he's more into it. And I think he learned his lesson.
We'll see.
Then I got 3rd, Deontay Wilder. He knocked out a bunch of guys, but then whenever he faced really good competition, against Ruiz, he struggled a little bit. Yes, he knocked him out.
Ortiz.
Oh, what did I say? Ruiz. I'm sorry, Ortiz.
Ruiz
he
won't
struggled
fight
a
him.
little bit. Okay, and Fury, I think he lost the first fight against Fury, and obviously the second one he got knocked cold. Then number
He
two,
didn't get knocked cold. The towel
pretty
was
much,
thrown in.
pretty
The
much. He
towel
was going to get
thrown
knocked
in.
cold.
Come on, you guys are exaggerating.
And then,
the towel was thrown in.
And then Luther doesn't exaggerate. When Fury, they made it sound like the referee gave him a towel and some tea,
He
and somebody
sat down on his
Tyson,
knees
wake
and
up!
screamed in his
Tyson,
ear.
wake up, please!
Get up!
Please get up! And number one is Tyson Fury, and I was not sold on him at the beginning. Again, we talked about it before. He beat Steve Cunningham. Cunningham knocked him down. I said, I think he's more flair or more hype than talent. But you know what? He kept proving me wrong, He had a few different battles that I thought he should have blew some fighters out, but he didn't. He had some issues, fought back from them. He's a talented guy. He moves pretty good. And Luther said it too. I like the fact that the first fight, he was more of a boxer. The second fight, he said flat out, I'm going to knock Wilder out. And he did. You know, he changed. He has different ways to fight. It's not just one way. He is a boxer puncher, like I always say. Lennox Lewis was one of the great boxer punchers. I'm not putting Fury up there with Lennox Lewis, but I do think that Fury's number one. So I got.
I didn't hear you mention.
Joshua, he's number two. I apologize.
I didn't hear
Joshua's
Cassius
number two.
Clay.
Joshua's number two.
Nobody's going to say that. When
Joshua's
they
number
say
two.
Anthony
Wilder's
Joshua,
three,
except you.
Joshua's two, and Fury's number one. And I think that everybody would say that those are pretty much the top 4 or 5 guys. Then Jim brought this guy from left field. Who I don't even know if he's
We're
exists.
still trying to get tape on him.
I think he played for Tampa Bay Lightning the other day.
He's a hockey guy.
Yeah, I
He
think
knocked
he's
a
a
couple
hockey guy.
guys out on the skating rink, and now he
Russians are
turned
tough.
pro. Is that the guy you're talking
You
about?
remember in the Olympics, the Russians used to always be some tough guys to beat.
That's true, yeah.
Let me ask you a question, because you know you've brought up numerous times about the Olympics.
I love it.
Now, Boom Boom Mancini was a much better
Yes.
pro than he was an amateur.
yes.
Okay. No, we're not talking about Olympics. We're talking about just those between amateur and pro. That was his style. He was much better. Some guys, would you say, are better in the amateurs than they are in the pros? Would you agree with that?
Well, you got styles that don't fit amateur boxing usually.
Okay.
Mike Tyson, a Boom Boom Mancini, although Joe Frazier was an Olympic gold medalist, but don't forget he lost in the Olympic trials to Buster Mathis.
Right.
But Buster Mathis ended up breaking his hand in training, so Joe Frazier went and represented the country and won the Olympics. So there's that style. Because you know it's only 3 rounds, and you got to score a lot of points. And the Boom Boom Mancini and those guys, man, you know that style of taking a few shots before you get one in, you don't accumulate enough points if you don't knock the guy out.
Well, Jim, one question I want to ask.
Yes.
You love the Olympics so much, but
Yes,
you always
so do you.
You always trash the bronze bomber for winning a bronze medal.
Yeah.
When you know he just started fighting a couple months before the Olympics. You do know that, right?
Pardon me?
He just had started
George
fighting.
George Foreman fought 2 months. George Foreman was in a youth home for wayward kids. 2 months
I didn't
later,
ask about
he was
George
Olympic
Foreman.
champion.
Can you stay on the point?
I'm just
Can you
saying.
answer my question?
No, I'm just
Can you
saying.
answer my question? though?
Okay. Because you give excuses.
I'm asking
He
the
gives
question.
enough excuses for
Deontay
himself.
Wilder
He don't need
won a
your help.
bronze medal. Had never boxed, played football and basketball, delivering beer. His daughter got sick. He said, I
He
need
got
to make
8
some
kids.
money.
Which one got sick?
His daughter got sick. He said, I need to make some money. And went to boxing. The next year, he's a bronze medalist. But you give no credit for that?
Huh?
You give no credit for that. 1 year and the next year.
Why don't you talk about some of his 7 other kids? Yeah, right.
Can you answer the question? Can you answer the question, Jim?
I'm trying.
I'm not trying to talk about paternity and all that. I said he got a bronze medal. Give him some credit for that.
Okay, he got knocked down and got up several times. Yeah.
Okay, that means so you'll never give him credit for that. All right, Jim.
Now, you
Put some respect on that name.
You said that Fury's not one of the all-time greats, and we never said he was.
The way you guys talk about it, I could be. I'm fooled.
This era. But your thoughts on Wilder and the all-time greats?
He's not up in that. Any of these heavyweights right now, I don't put them anywhere near those guys in the 70s. No. Including AJ, including Wilder, including Tyson Fury. I haven't seen enough. They're not fighting each other enough. That's what made the 70s great. Those guys were banging. You didn't have to, is this guy ever going to fight him? They were going to fight. Out of the top 3, Fury and Wilder have fought twice. Wilder and AJ should have fought
Wasn't
years
even born
ago.
in the
Back in
70s.
2000. What are you talking? I saw all those fights, Jim. I saw all those fights. I grew up on that, Jim. How young do you think I am? Just because you're a senior citizen and you watch Jack Johnson doesn't mean I didn't see boxing in the 70s. Come on. But no, I don't put any of those guys with the top ones yet.
Right.
Until they start fighting each other.
Even then,
because the heavyweight division isn't as deep.
Right.
You see, trying to get 6 guys, we all had 6 different guys because it's not that deep. I mean, we all
That
had
means it's
basically.
deep. That kinda means
Well,
no.
we had
because they don't fight each other. We don't know. All of us pretty much had the same
Yeah.
top 3. Except for Jim, he went way off base somewhere, as he usually does.
As he usually does.
You know, because we never know what he's smoking before the show. But that was way off. I don't know. He went way out to Russia and pulled a guy. He couldn't even say his name. I don't know.
All right, we're going to take another break, and on our way back, we're going to talk about the July 23rd fight, the Vargas Kids, and our legend of the week, Fernando Vargas. We're right back with the Boxing Authorities. There was a great card on July 23rd, and the 2 guys, they're not the headliners, but 2 guys that their last name rings a bell.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going to be interested, and that's Fernando Vargas' sons, Fernando Jr. and Amado. Jim, let me ask you, we talked about them before, but I know in wrestling, Bruno Sammartino here in Pittsburgh was idolized, and really everywhere he was idolized in professional wrestling. His son David was a very good wrestler. I really liked David, really thought that he had a chance to be a star in the business. Not a main event guy so much, but maybe maybe a good tag team champion or an intercontinental. What's that?
NXT.
Right, before NXT. But it would be hard to say, okay, yeah, following your father's footsteps. Never going to happen.
Right.
Do you think, I know it's still early yet, but how hard will it be for the Vargas boys to follow in their father's footsteps?
Not very hard. Look at The Rock. Rock followed in his grandfather and his father's
and Rocky
footsteps.
Johnson was good. Peter Maivia was good. You're right.
It's an advantage. You
Okay.
know, you grow up in a household with a legend that knows the fight game. And I have to disagree again with Luther and maybe even you, Claudio, because, you know, Fernando Vargas is living proof that a loss does matter. This is a guy that was a young champion, 21 years old, you know, beat a very good Dan Conley, beat a overrated Winky Wright. But he was a guy like your guy, they made the movie about.
Vinny.
Vinny
Gazzaniga.
Yeah.
Didn't fight no stumble bumps.
Never.
You
Right,
know,
right.
Vargas was the same way. He fought everybody and anybody. He didn't walk. He didn't shy away
If you
from
don't mind
any
me saying, he fought
competition.
Oscar, he fought Mayorga, he fought
Yeah.
Mosley twice, Winky Wright, Felix Trinidad,
Ike
Corte.
Corte.
Yeah.
I mean, he at a young
Yeah.
age.
At a young age. So, you know.
Do you
and-
think they moved him too quick?
No, I think that it was just part of his DNA. He just wanted to. He was like Vinny. He wanted to fight the best of the best of the best, and wasn't nobody going to stop him. If his trainer or manager wouldn't let him do it, he would fire them and get somebody else. He called out those opponents.
Right.
But his history is going to remember him for the losses.
Right.
He could have easily racked up 75 wins in a row because he was that great. 21-year-old champion. And in my opinion. I'm a boxing historian. I'm a boxing authorities. He goes down in history. I think he's a Hall of Famer. Whether he ever makes the Hall of Fame, him and Vinny, I don't know. But I think the losses is the reason why he may not get in.
Well, Luther said last week about how they bring somebody up. And I personally think they brought him up too quick. Now, I remember, again, Boom Mancini said that his career he knew it wasn't going to be a long career because of the way he fought. Boom went in like a bulldozer and he tried to knock you out. Vargas wasn't like that. I mean, he could move. He was a good boxer puncher. So I didn't think that they had to throw him in against those big name guys that young. I think that if they would have given him more experience, become a better technician, then maybe not fight those guys all in a row. It's just like a Super Bowl contender, 2 Super Bowl contenders playing each other every single week. It's good for the fans, kind of good for the sport, but not good for the boxer. When you fight guys like that he fought that young, especially when he called out Oscar, That was a big one. I think he was a little bit too young to fight Oscar. I give him credit because he hated Oscar, but I think it was. I remember that fight till we watched it. I was in Louisiana, but I said I think he's too young for this. I don't think he's ready for it. And then to fight Mosley twice, who was good, and Mayorga was tough. And again, yes, he beat Winky Wright, who was hard to look good against. Winky, but he fought him.
Right.
And people ducked Winky Wright. Okay, and then again, a lot of people.
ducked him?
Well, not in the sense that they were
A
afraid.
lot of people don't want to
Right?
fight him because he was so hard to
Right,
hit.
and he
Joe.
reminded me of
And
Jimmy Young.
It was hard
Hey,
to
the
look
Hall
good
of
against him.
Fame should have ducked Winky right.
He's in there for a reason.
That's a good point. What I mean by ducking
Don't
him,
disrespect
what I mean by
Winky Wright.
ducking him is that they didn't look good against him.
Exactly.
Jimmy Young, nobody looked good against
point.
Jimmy Young.
Very
Jerry
good.
Cooney did,
Yeah.
but nobody looked good against Jimmy Young, so
Exactly.
they want to
His
fight
style.
him. That's what I mean. But I thought that they rushed him. I thought they should have made it a longer career. He was a good-looking guy, stylistic type guy, charismatic. I just wish that they would have stretched him out a little bit longer.
I disagree with that. I like the way they moved him. He just wasn't good enough to beat those guys. And who's to
You
say
think he would have been?
No, I think he maxed out. I think he
Okay,
maxed his
all right.
potential. And look at his resume. He fought great competition.
He sure did.
He didn't always win, but he fought. His resume is a Hall of Fame resume.
Okay.
It's a shame that he couldn't beat some of those guys because he would have been a shoo-in. But I like the way they moved him. I wish more fighters would get moved like that. When you get in there and you start getting these big fights. Lomachenko is one who's came in. I know he had a long amateur career, but he came in and getting big fight after big
What a
fight.
legend.
A championship fight in his second fight, which he lost, but he still got a chance to get there. I wish guys would get moved like that instead of a guy got to get 30-0 and he's fought no one, and then they finally get a title shot when they're 30, 31
Well,
years
listen, we've
old.
had this discussion, and I think
I
you and I
love
are
the
on
way
two
they
different
moved it.
sides here. I think you're looking at it as a fan, and I understand that. Where I'm looking at it more on the business end of it, that I think they could have stretched it out, made more money, made more of a name, fought the right people. It's a business. These guys are human. This is their business. I don't think that he should have gone in and fought those guys right away. I think
felt
they
he
should
was
have-
ready.
And in succession. Well, yeah, the fighter is always going to think
Yeah,
that.
hey.
That's why you want the proper management to put them in at the right people. There's a lot of fighters who, and not protected. It's not being protected.
It is
It's
being
being
protected.
smart.
There
It's
were a
being
lot of
smart.
guys being protected.
It's being smart.
it's-
There's some guys who are being
and-
protected.
And legendary
Right.
promoters are saying, let
Yes.
these fights
Right.
marinate.
Now,
let
right
these
now,
fights marinate.
Crawford and
That's
Spence, that's ridiculous. They should be
exactly.
fighting
Just
now.
like Floyd and Pacquiao, let it marinate.
No, that was too
give
much.
us this fight.
You're right.
Give us
You're
this
right.
fight. We've
That's
been
too
waiting
much.
for AJ versus Wilder
When you have
for how
70
long?
fights and 40 fights and 30 fights and 28 fights, now it's time. But when Vargas was in this 20 fights and only 21 years old, I think, think about it. When we were 21, okay, he needed to mature physically and mentally. And Oscar was a pro's pro at that time. He was going in against a buzzsaw. Mayorga was, Mayorga, he was tough. Again, Mosley was a pro. He went in, yes, he did beat Corte. Yes, I give him
I'm
a
a
lot
fan of how he moved. He
well-
got in there, he felt he was ready, they put him in with great competition, he lost. Who's to
Yeah.
say he ever would have beat him? He just wasn't at that level.
Me
he was
personally,
a level below.
I would have put him in against different guys that I knew that he was going to beat, then put him up against guys that he was going to have a little bit of a tougher time, and then go up against the big dogs like the David Wynn and stuff.
I like the way
exactly.
they moved him. He might not have fought all those guys. if
And
he
you
wasn't
build more
moved
of a
that way.
fan base the more you win. Again, good-looking guy.
You don't think he had a big fan base?
He did, but he'd have been
Okay.
even more. I think
If
they
he
should
won,
stretched
if he
it
would
out.
have won more, he would have had a bigger fan base. He had a big fan base, but he didn't win those big fights, Claudio. I love the way he was moved. I wish more young fighters
I
would
think
get
more
moved
money would
like
have been
that.
made, and then he would have been in the Hall of Fame
Pocket
if they
watching,
managed him
Claudio.
right.
I love the way he was moved. I don't want these fights marinated, and we got to keep talking year after year. We wait 5 years for the biggest fight in boxing, Crawford and Spence. How long have we been talking about that?
Yeah.
That should have happened
I haven't
years
talked
ago.
about it yet.
AJ
And-
Wilder, AJ Fury. These fights should have happened.
Right. And this slides right into our next and final segment, the mailbag, the Boxing Authority's mailbag. So we appreciate you guys sending your questions. We really appreciate it. This is for all three of us. This is from Nick from Ohio. The best promoter today, which really leads right into what we've been talking about. Who are the best promoters today? For me, I got to be a little transparent. Jimmy Birchfield from Classic Entertainment and Sports. Love Jimmy. He's a friend. He had Vinny Paz, Joe Macy, Scott Pemberton. He had Chad Bad Dawson, who was great. And Jimmy had a little something to do with the Triller thing with Tyson and Jones. But Jimmy is, I've seen him in action. not only during the bouts and all that kind of stuff, guys, but when his fighters, Gary Tiger Boletto, who retired early and wanted to spend time with his family, unfortunately got into an accident, a trampoline accident, July 4th, several years ago. I know Jimmy's helped. And Jimmy helps a lot of fighters. Jimmy's always there for his fighters. And as far as putting matches together, he put some good matches with Vinny Paz. And so for me, it has to be Jimmy Birchfield. But then you got the Heymans, Al Heymans, and the Arams and the Kings. You still got to throw Don King in there.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
What's the last big fight he promoted?
That guy that Jim mentioned.
Right.
The alphabet soup guy. Go ahead, Luther.
I'm going to go with Al Heyman. I think what he's doing
and
with
Eddie
the
Hearn.
PBC.
Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, Eddie Hearn. And you got to put Oscar in there.
Oscar, yes. Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Al Heyman. I think the PBC brand is just expanding. Javante Davis is that next young star.
You think it hurts them they don't have heavyweights?
Pardon me?
You think it hurts them if they don't have the big heavyweight?
Well, they have Wilder.
I'll say it again. You think it hurts them if they don't have the big heavyweight?
Wilder is still, to me, he's still the face of heavyweight boxing. The man goes
with the
to
mask off or on?
He goes to a press conference,
Wait a minute.
doesn't say a word.
I gotta see real
That's
quick.
the thing.
What costume is he going to bring in? Is he going to wear? Is he going to do the Mike Tyson thing? A towel,
black shorts and a white towel.
All right.
There you go. He might come in there like the guy we saw last week coming in with the Ali shorts, the black and white.
Okay.
I don't know. But listen, PBC, Al Heyman, they are doing great things for boxing. They put free fights on TV, Fox and FS1. Then they have pay-per-views. They're on Showtime. And I like what they do. Their stable of fighters are huge. Some of the best fights have been through the PBC brand. So I like it. Bob Arum, I think he's been around forever. I think he's been promoting longer than I've been living. But he's been around for a while. And I think the game may have, I don't know. It seems
he's
like he likes to let fights marinate. I'd like him to see these big fights come together a little more. So Al Heyman definitely is PBC is number one in my book.
Smoking Jim.
Well, who's the guy that had the circus? Burlington Bailey? Was it
Barnum
Bailey.
Yeah, that's number one, then Don King, then Bob Arum. And all the rest of them after that is kind of like...
Did we say currently?
I think the guy who's
Bob
really...
Arum right now.
Heyman, obviously. But the other guy's Eddie Hearn. He's really putting it up. I mean, he's really going after it. He wants to be the number one guy. And it looks like him and Heyman are the top dogs right now.
Sometimes I'd like him to come with more proof. I mean, he says a lot of things that are outlandish. He was telling us for how many? One more week, mate, we'll have Fury and AJ. One more week, mate, and it never happened. So he talks a lot. He's out there a lot. He does a lot of promotion. But I think he oversells his project.
With the circus and Don King, they were bigger than the fighters. That's when you true promotion.
One thing about Don King, you would get those big fights.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if the fighters would get paid what they should, but the fans would get the Tysons and the Vanders and the Lewises.
That's the key to a great promoter. They have to be more than even the fighters. And that's what Don King was, and that's what Bob Arum is, and that's what the circus is. The rest of these guys anybody can do it. They're interchangeable. Anybody can do it. They're not bigger than the fight.
Not anybody's doing it.
They're not bigger than the fight. Are they bigger than the fight? Then they're not great promoters.
Listen.
We're not going to see the promoters fight.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but everybody came. You hear Don King fight,
again,
you know you was going to be
Smoking
entertained.
Jim, you're dating yourself. That's old school thinking where you have to have a promoter out there. Don King with his gray hair and screaming, I love him. No, these guys have other ways to promote. They have social media. They have all kind of ways to promote.
President Trump in the White House. Don King.
Don King did that?
Oh, man.
Well, what happened once he did that, he stopped promoting fights. He promoted Trump to the White House, and he's never promoted a big fight again.
Our last one, we got under 2 minutes left. The best boxing announcers ever, for me, by far, without question, is Howard Cosell.
Oh yeah.
He made it an event.
Him and Ali would go at it. That was classic.
Well, Howard Cosell, number one. Number two, Flip Wilson.
Listen,
Flip Wilson, Jim Brown, Ken Norton, all those guys were
I'll go Howard Cosell number one, and Snoop Dogg. Commentary on Nate Robinson's
Red Fox
knockout.
did it. James Brown,
man.
those only fights.
1 and 2. Snoop was already up there. I got him number 2.
Snoop was all right.
That Triller card he announced was amazing, man. He has the gift, the gab, and he keeps everybody light and keeps,
for sure.
keep things in people's hands.
That's for sure. He keeps everybody
Snoop
light
is on his way up.
He keeps everybody light, all right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Boxing Authorities. I know we certainly did. For Luther Dupree Jr., Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudio Rosano, we'll see you guys next time.